I will learn to fight, I will learn to fly. I will learn to kill, I don't learn to die.
The Tourist is a puzzle game that came out back in November of last year. I picked it up when it first came out, and I really wanted to talk about it for a while now, but I just got, busy with the end of year award stuff and everything that I wanted to do, so it's finally time to get around to talking about it. It's a very good game. Honorable mentions, of course, in my Game of the Year videos, but not quite there. But it's a lot of fun, though. It's by a German studio, Shin'en Multimedia. They did a lot of puzzle games. When I researched them a bit, I admittedly was not super familiar with them, but I checked out their, they made quite a few games, mostly puzzle games since the Game Boy Color. But anyways, you play as an unnamed tourist, and you get caught up in your little vacation, and you end up going around solving the mystery of this group of islands that you're at a resort for. And it's a lot of fun. Each island has its own unique vibe to it, and look and aesthetic. Some have a more sunset look, some are more bright in the middle of the day, so on and so forth. It's really cool seeing all the different ways they're able to portray a similar environment, but change it up as you go to each of the islands, where you collect this piece to proceed into finding out the true secrets of the island, as this unnamed guy you find in a ruin starts to set you on your path of that. As a very non-obtrusive soundtrack, very chill as you explore. However, there's a lot of times that it'll actually ramp up very well when it gets to an intense, what I would consider a boss area. It's not really a fight per se, but you kind of have like a boss puzzle, and it's the equivalent of a boss fight, which is really cool. It's got a very retro 80s vibe from the soundtrack to the look. But the cool thing that they do is you see a lot of indie games take on that kind of pixel art style, but they take that retro pixel style and do a very good job of using dynamic lighting and making it still very high res and HD, that despite the, you see kind of like those fake renders of super HD Minecraft, kind of think about it like that, and it's definitely one of the most gorgeous looking games on the Switch. It's also a lot of fun, so it's definitely worth playing. There's a very misleading part of the style where it's very cutesy looking, but it's definitely got some depth to it, and especially in terms of some of the puzzles that they throw in there. There's varying amounts of styles of puzzle, and they also vary in difficulty, which is really cool. That some of them, depending on what type of critical thinker you are, seem like the answer is very transparent up front, or sometimes you really have to think. I'll admit there was a puzzle I did get stuck on. It was a very hard one of the puzzle boss fights that I did end up having to look up a guide for. I don't like to do that, but I did get stuck, and it was one of those moments where I was just like, get stuck and give up on the game and never come back, or just look up the solution this one time and then play the game proper from then on out. That's of course just me not being able to solve the puzzle. It had nothing to do with the puzzle being unfair or the game being unfair. So far, I feel like I'm a good amount through it, and I don't feel like it's ever been cheap yet. It's a good challenge without being cheap, which is great, because I think a lot of games, for example, I'm not a huge fan of Cuphead, although the aesthetic and music's cool. I just don't think it's a fun kind of difficult. This game is definitely not like that, and it is. Even when it gets in its difficult moments, is definitely a lot of fun. Another cool thing about the game is that as you go around on the islands, there's definitely a set amount of stuff you're supposed to do to get the artifact on each island and move on from there in the main storyline. However, there's a good amount of optional quests, which I'm not sure if you do all of them. Maybe you get, other than an achievement, perhaps something else happens. But there's a mainline story, but there's definitely a lot of side quests to do as you explore each of the different islands, and are given all this kind of content and stuff, and each of the islands get more and more elaborate with stuff that you can do. So it's really awesome going around and exploring and kind of seeing what way do I want to solve this, especially if, say, you only need to do, for example, say there's 10 quests on the island, you only need to do 7 of the 10. It's cool to go around and kind of figure out, oh, I like to do this one, this one, this one. Definitely going to skip this one, and kind of go like that. But anyways, The Tourist, awesome game, out on Nintendo Switch. $20, I believe. I probably should have researched that before making the video, but yeah, it's like 20 bucks or whatever. Definitely worth it. 20, 25, hell, 30 might be pushing it, but very good indie game, $20. Pick it up now in the Nintendo eShop. It's an exclusive to Switch.